right, gang, welcome back to another episode of the Blockchain Report. Today, we're going to be revisiting our conversation with Ledn co-founder Mauricio Di Bartolomeo. And later, we're going to be talking about Elon Musk as he says that Tesla isn't just a car company anymore. In fact, it's an AI chip company. All that and more coming up right now on today's show. Stay tuned and let's go. All right, welcome back to the Blockchain Report. Now we have a special guest for you today as part of our deep dive. Now this is someone who's lived the why Bitcoin story in real life. He grew up during Venezuela's hyperinflation, where survival meant learning how to protect your money before it evaporated. He went on to co-found a company that's changing how people put their Bitcoin to work, not by selling it, by unlocking its real-world opportunities with it. He's written for Forbes, shaped the conversation around Bitcoin-backed lending, and is helping build the future of financial access worldwide. Let's give a big Blockchain Report welcome to today's guest, the co-founder and chief strategy officer of Ledn, Mauricio Di Bartolomeo, everybody. Welcome to the show, Mauricio. It's great to have you. We are super pumped to have you on today. How are you this morning? Thanks for joining us.
I'm great, Hank. Thank you for that immensely kind introduction.
Well, you have earned it. You've been living that Bitcoin life for a while now. Your journey is really interesting. I was doing my due diligences into you, Mauricio, and I saw that you grew up in Venezuela during hyperinflation, where money lost value faster than a Blockbuster gift card does today. How did that experience shape the way you think about money and eventually push you toward Bitcoin? Unpack that for us.
Oh man, great question. And as you mentioned, I grew up in Venezuela, which is where I first got my first experience with money not working or breaking money or useless money, really. And that led me to question a lot of things about what I was being taught in school and what I was reading in economics books, because as I was growing up in Venezuela, and by the way, in my very early childhood, I was a bit unaware to some of these things. And by the mid 90s, I was already, I could make sense of what was going on around me. And one of my dad's a serial entrepreneur. He's been, he's done all sorts of businesses, started companies, multiple companies throughout his life. So that was always part of my desire, I guess. So it was like an innate desire. I wanted to start something and I wanted to understand how to make money. And one of the things I remember distinctly hearing my dad talk about money at the dinner table or at the lunch table, I was always very confused because my dad was following a playbook that was in many ways contradicting what I was learning in school. And I saw him start doing very well financially, whereas some of my friends' parents who were, say, doctors or lawyers who were following every little thing that we were reading on the book kept getting left behind. And I'll explain. In school, you were being taught that you should put away fiat and save part of your fiat income for a rainy day, right? And you were told that debt was bad. Debt was not a good thing to have. You should clear off your debt. And as this was happening, I was seeing my friends' parents, who were, again, doctors and lawyers, they were putting away part of their paycheck every month, and they were clearing off their debt, right? And then on the other side of the house, I was seeing my dad basically take any loan that was being offered to him to invest this and to start as many businesses as he could. And any extra money he had, he would invest. There was nothing ever sitting in his checking account or even in his fiat savings account. He was always invested and always borrowing as much fiat as he could. And that was a big contradiction, right? I was like, how is this person not following the rules doing so well, where these people following the rules are getting left behind? This doesn't work. And another thing that I remember was very puzzling to me was when inflation was starting to really pick up in Venezuela, people started bragging about their cars. And what I mean by this is there was a big bragging point because people would buy a Toyota 4Runner, okay? And this was like a 1994 Toyota 4Runner. They would drive it for 2 years, and they were able to sell it in 1996 for more bolívares than they bought it for. And in nominal Bolivar terms, the truck was going up in Bolivares, but in real terms, if you price that same truck in dollars or gold, it wasn't worth the same. It was depreciating just like anything else. But people were being thrown for a loop because in in Venezuelan fiat terms, they were better off 2 years after having driven the truck. And so there were all these inconsistencies that made me question how money works. And I set out to, I remember distinctly, I said, listen, if my goal in life is to start a business that makes money, the first thing that I should do is understand how money works. And so that led me down this discovery path around why our money wasn't working like the books said. And so it led me to question and challenge a lot of the main teachings that you read about in university or in high school. And you're basically never you're never taught to question how money works. You're never really told how money works. They just tell you it's this thing, and you just need to make more of it. But they don't really tell you who issues it, what gives it value, how do you assess whether it's working or not working. And so that led me down this path of trying to understand why our money didn't work. And as that happened, hyperinflation was starting to kick in. There's a lot of other political turmoil to add to the mix. But the long and the short of it was that I learned from that experience that those who held fiat, the Venezuelan bolivar, the hot potato, got wrecked. And those who got rid of the fiat and traded it for virtually almost anything else did very well. But those who did the best were the ones that shorted the bolivar by taking out loans that were priced well below the actual rate of inflation and used those bolivares to buy assets. So during this whole period, what I learned was that the best economic activity for me to do in a collapsing fiat environment was to short that collapsing fiat. And so that started my what I consider my most successful trade before Bitcoin, which was shorting the Venezuelan bolivar with the US dollar. And so I would take out bolivar loans, turn around, buy dollars with them. My loans were being issued to me at 24-30% range, and the inflation rate was somewhere in the thousands of percent, or a couple of hundred of thousands percent. So just take out these loans, wait for the dollars that I had purchased to mega inflate, and then I would sell a portion of those dollars, repay the bolivar loan, and do it all over again, rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat. Until obviously it started becoming more and more challenging to short the bolivar, and along that time is because of some political events, I had to leave the country. So it became even harder for me to short the bolivar. But that was around the time my family found Bitcoin. So I went from shorting the bolivar with the dollar to shorting the dollar with Bitcoin. And I can kind of get into more of the how do we find Bitcoin and what leads to Ledn, but that was, I'll pause this rant for now.
No, that's super interesting. It kind of almost reminds me a little bit, if you ever read Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad, Poor Dad. There's like some similarities there, except you are the son of the rich dad in this situation who kind of is understanding the monetary system through this very different financial lens compared to what we are brought up believing, which is just crazy. We learn how to like bisect angles in school, but they don't teach us anything about money or taxes. It almost seems kind of deliberate. I would like you to kind of go into that moment though. When did Bitcoin really click for you that it was not some kind of nerdy monetary experiment, but instead you could see it as something that people could actually build businesses on? What was that process like for you?
So the first step to that was, to do I gain my conviction in Bitcoin? And beyond there, once that conviction has settled, that was the foundation to say, I want to build a professional life on this asset class. And the way I gained that conviction was through a few key moments. And to give people some context around the moment in time when this happened. So this goes back to 2013 when Chavez died. Okay, Hugo Chavez, which was the Venezuelan dictator from 99 to about 2013, passed away. And I think it was late 2013. This triggered an election in Venezuela for 2014. And without the sort of head of the snake around anymore, many people think this is the time where we're going to get the country back, myself included. So a lot of us, I was out in Canada at the time, and a lot of us who were living abroad, invested or spent basically a lot of money that we had saved to go back and be able to vote so we could get this guy out and gain our country back. We go there, we vote, and they steal the election. It was a rigged election. And that was the first time where the Chavismo party, the dictatorial party, basically had an opportunity to say, hey, we're not democratically elected. We're basically going to bow out and let another government take over. But that is not what happened. They saw that they basically lost, but they realized that if they admitted defeat, they would just get rolled out and thrown in jail, because that's what happens when you have a criminal dictatorial government that knows that it is up against the ropes. They don't let go of power, because letting go of power means going to The Hague. And they typically don't like that. So the election was taken away from us. There was a massive set of protests. I was in those protests. That's when protests started getting violent, and the government, to basically try to tame down the protests, started shooting real bullets, killing innocent people. I knew a lot of those innocent people in those protests. And I was there actually in one of the protests when some of the people passed away, which was incredibly, I don't want to call it traumatizing, but it was, it's hard to shake off. And when you see that and you realize it's not a fair fight, that at that point, my parents intervened, my mom intervened, and my now wife intervened, and they basically sat me down and said, what are you doing? They're killing people. Why are you going to these protests? Get out. You have a chance to get out. You can build a life abroad. That was the whole point of you going to school abroad, is that when things went wrong, you left. Sure. And so I left. My parents started trying to get my middle brother out. My middle brother left, and it was now my youngest brother's turn. He was still there, but my parents wanted him out. And because my dad was very entrepreneurial, all of us, the three brothers, got to start a business, and he was like a little seat check out of university, so that we could basically try to gain our chops. And my middle brother and I had done our share, and now it was my younger brother's turn. But my dad didn't want to fund any business that was in Venezuela. He's like, I'll fund your business, but it needs to be away from here. But he didn't want to leave. Mm-hmm. He, like many others, were upset. Leaving is a very hard decision. I know it just rolls off the tongue when you interview somebody and they've done well and things are good, and but it's not easy. In fact, it's very, very hard. And understandably, he didn't want to leave. The country was falling apart. Everybody was, forced liquidating everything. This is when inflation is really getting into the thousands %. And so my brother starts pitching my dad, and my dad basically all these local ideas, and my dad just says no, until finally he comes with my dad with an ultimatum. He says, I'm doing this whether you support me or not. If you don't support me, I'll leave the house, I'll sell my car, but I'm doing this. And my dad calls me that night. He says, I think he's really serious about this. I don't know, I have no idea what this thing is. I've never heard of this. Can you take a look? And he flips me the white paper and a link to Bitmain. And his project was to buy Bitcoin miners. And this is the first time I've ever heard about Bitcoin, read the white paper, didn't know what miners were. So I go on this rabbit hole for about a day, reading the white paper, researching Bitmain and the miners and the ecosystem and how everything interacts. And I land at the conclusion that miners are these special computers that take in a lot of energy, which in Venezuela was heavily subsidized, if not free. And the other input was internet, which again was very heavily subsidized, if not free. All you had to do was really get the machine. And my dad was pretty adept at importing things. So I said, listen, and then the output from all of that was a globally sellable asset that you could sell for dollars outside of Venezuela. So that in itself was a very unique and interesting proposition. So I said, out of everything he's pitched, this sounds like the most sort of anti-fragile business thing to do when you're in a country like this. And so, I think it's actually an interesting idea. And so my dad says, cool. And he funds my brother. And my brother goes out and gets his first miners. And then I went down later that year. This is late 2014. And so I went down middle of 2015, and I see I land at the airport. I go home. I see my friends are there. They're all like long faces leaving a country, and then my brother rolls in, pep on his step, very happy, and he says, "Hey, I heard your friends are leaving. If any of them are leaving behind any industrial power or any industrial sites, let me know. I'm renting." And I'm like, you're renting new space when everyone in the country is leaving. He's like, yeah, I'm really looking to expand. And I'm like, I want to see what you're doing, right? So I go to his facility and I see about twice as many machines as originally were supposed to have been purchased. And so I didn't say anything at the time. I went to my dad. I'm like, Dad, what are you doing here? I thought it was only going to be a few machines. And he goes back to me and says, those are his. He paid me back for the original ones. And I said, I went back to my brother and I said, what are you doing? And he says, I'm mining Bitcoin. And I said, show me. And he goes, I'm going to sell $100 worth of Bitcoin at the real rate. Because whenever you're in hyperinflation, there will be two exchange rates. There will be what the government says the exchange rate is, and there's the actual exchange rate. And the goal of everything is to be able to sell your dollars at the actual exchange rate, not what the government says. That's fake. They set a artificially low exchange rate so they can sell cheap dollars to their friends and cronies. And that's not the free market rate. So he takes $100 worth of Bitcoin, sells them in this exchange called Sur Bitcoin at the real rate. And the bolívares hit my bank account. I think it was within 2 hours. And it was in that moment when he was able to sell dollars for bolívares at the real market rate in the middle of the most hostile environment in terms of capital controls and authoritarianism that I had ever witnessed. And when I saw he was able to basically take electricity through a computer, convert it into freedom money that can be uncensorable and untouched from an authoritarian regime, that's when all the lights went off for me, because I understood in that moment what Bitcoin was meant to do. It was meant to give people in places like Venezuela freedom money. And then my head went, okay, how many people live in Venezuela? 30 million people. How many people live in hyperinflation? 4 billion people. How many people are going to need this? I can't compute the number in my head. And so I said, this is all I can think about, right? And so when I flew back, because remember I was in Canada at the time, and so I fly back and I can't stop thinking about mining. I asked my brother to give me some space in his facility so I can start putting my own miners there. He starts getting very greedy about his space because it's his space. He works very hard to get it, and like he's trying to cram as many machines as there and expand as fast as possible. So I'm sitting here trying to figure out, okay, how do I get involved? And so my family back home was setting up more and more facilities, and they kept earning Bitcoin. They wanted to keep building the facilities, but they needed to reinvest into miners, but they didn't want to sell the Bitcoin. And so they start reinvesting. They start having to sell the Bitcoin because the only asset they had. So they start reinvesting some of the Bitcoin, or quite a bit of the Bitcoin, into the facilities. And in that process, a lot of my friends became interested. A lot of my family, my relatives, the mining starts going viral in Venezuela. So I start helping people how to set up facilities. Some friends in Florida, some friends in Canada. And so now I've gotten pretty good at setting up Bitcoin mines. So I understand the process. And I'm helping people set up mines. I'm building my rigs in Canada. These were some GPU rigs that I was experimenting with back then, because you could still connect them to NiceHash and get Bitcoin from them. And so through this, I'm just doing mining, and I'm becoming increasingly aware of this need for people, businesses that live on a Bitcoin standard that want to reinvest and use that Bitcoin, but they don't want to spend it. And so it becomes clear to me that there needs to be a product that allows you to use the Bitcoin as collateral to get a loan. a fiat loan that's getting debased. Exactly what I did with the bolívar, but this time you're using the world's greatest asset with the world's greatest fiat. And so, by the way, the dynamics are the same. It still vanishes into nothingness, the best fiat. And so the idea and the mechanics all hold. All we need is the product. And so I started looking around for the product. Nowhere to be found. No one seems to be offering this. And this is back in 2016. And then the few companies that did, they go to market with these tokens. They're issuing their own tokens, which is ridiculous in the world that I came from. And you don't need that. Why would I need? Do I need to buy freaking Wells Fargo tokens to open a bank account? No, that's insane. Why would you ever want that? So, Adam and I, which Adam is my best friend from university in Canada, because when I was in Canada, I needed to find cheap power to set up my mine. And Adam had been doing renewable energy for 10 years. So if anyone knew where the cheapest power in Canada was, it was him. So we get talking and he goes, let's go to Quebec. It's the cheapest power in the free world. And so we start setting up a mine in Canada. And then the mine starts going. It starts going well. Of course, then we want to grow the mine. We start getting bills in fiat. We don't want to sell the Bitcoin to pay the bills in fiat. And we start going out to see if anyone would give us a loan backed by the Bitcoin. And then people called us lunatics. I think the most famous one that I still remember is Bitcoin's not an asset. Who would ever do that? Bitcoin's not an asset. And so after like the third or fourth, Adam and I just looked at each other and we said, this is what we need to solve. Like this is the thing. Like we are gonna give Canada's first Bitcoin-backed loan. That's what we should do. If we can get this right in Canada, this is a global product. This goes anywhere. And so, and people need this. I was talking to so many miners that wanted this product. And so we put our heads together, put together a pitch, and raised our first round to build what today is Ledn. And our first Bitcoin-backed loan was issued in November 2nd, 2018. And that loan went out to Francis Pouliot and Bills. And I don't know if anyone listening knows Francis. He's an OG in the space. He's actually one of the guys that got me to come to set up my mine in Canada. And then from there, it's been a wild ride, I will say. But I'm very proud, about where Ledn is today. We are the largest consumer Bitcoin-backed lending company in the world, which still is, fills us with pride. And we think we have a huge mission and an opportunity ahead of us. So I'll pause there.
Yeah. Wow, what a story. What I really love, especially I love your story and hearing stories like this because, here in the United States, Bitcoin doesn't mean the same thing as it does to other parts of the world because we haven't needed it the same way yet, right? Like people here, they see Bitcoin, number go up, digital gold, whatever. But then you see in countries like Venezuela, El Salvador, Argentina, where people literally need this to protect themselves from the crazy amounts of inflation that you're experiencing all the time. So it's so awesome to hear that origin story of you emerging from the wake of Venezuela's like monetary collapse almost, at least regards to its currency, and then build this product as a result of seeing where the world is going next. And that's what brings us to Ledn now. Now, we touched on it a little bit, but I want to make sure our audience is getting the full picture of what Ledn does. So could you break it down and just explain what Ledn does again, if you were explaining it to my Mima so that she could understand, like how would you break that down in the simplest terms for us?
Yeah, so Ledn is a very simple business. All we do is you can use your Bitcoin as collateral to get a fiat loan. So the process is very simple. We can lend you up to 50% of the value of the Bitcoin you use as collateral. So you can come to Ledn if you need $10,000 to pay for a trip, or you need, you've built a couple $100,000 in Bitcoin and you want to, get $100K to start your business. You can come to Ledn, submit a loan application, and basically request the loan amount you want, and then put the corresponding collateral amount into the loan. So if you're a person that wants to renovate their kitchen and you'll need 50K and you have a Bitcoin, but you don't want to sell it, you can come to Ledn, use that Bitcoin as collateral, get a $50,000 loan. You will still be able to own the Bitcoin. The Bitcoin is still yours. The upside on that Bitcoin is still yours. Getting a loan against the Bitcoin is typically not a taxable event in most jurisdictions. So there's tax benefits potentially to that too. And so you get the liquidity you need without parting ways with your Bitcoin. You keep the upside on the Bitcoin and you're able to renovate your house. And so what Ledn does is it allows you to use your digital wealth and port that into your real life experience to enhance your real life experience. And whether that is paying for a course to learn something new, buying a car, buying a house, starting a business, renovating your kitchen. The myriad, the things people use our loans for are almost endless. But the general idea here is that your Bitcoin is the world's greatest collateral asset. And you can use that Bitcoin to access a fiat loan at Ledn. It takes 5 minutes and it's available in most countries in the world. We're a regulated business, so we can't service sanctioned jurisdictions, etc. But we're available in most countries. And one of the beautiful things about Ledn is if you're a person applying for a Bitcoin-backed loan in Madrid or Medellin, you're getting the exact same experience, the same rates, the same service. That's real financial inclusion. Until Bitcoin, there was not a single asset on earth that would allow a lender to treat somebody in Europe the same way it treats somebody in LATAM, because collateral assets are so geographically different and disparate that underwriting credit on assets in different parts of the world was very uneven and unfair. And Bitcoin changed that game forever. I believe Bitcoin is going to swallow the world of asset-backed loans because it is a better collateral asset. And to put some numbers around this so people get some context, almost 80% of the total debt in the world is backed by assets. It's backed by something. This concept of unsecured credit is just a small fraction of the total credit ecosystem. So this is why collateral and pristine collateral and equally accessible collateral is such a revolutionary thing.
Yeah. Now, Mauricio, it does beg the question for me, though. This all sounds great. These are the exact type of products we need in this space. However, we've seen plenty of flashy crypto lenders blow up in the past because they were playing hot potato with customer funds, this, that, or the other. How did Ledn avoid being part of that funeral parade of lenders? What is making you guys different than some of the people we've seen before?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I think everybody that is considering these products really needs to do their diligence. Even if you like what you hear from me here, don't take it from me. Get out, do the research, see what people have to say about Ledn. But I'll walk you through what I think were the biggest mistakes, and in some cases misconceptions, from the previous batch of lenders and why they failed. So if you go back to the failed lenders, and that includes BlockFi, Celsius, FTX, Genesis, Voyager, and others. If you look at all these firms and try to look at what the commonalities around these firms were, number one, none of these firms ever did proof of reserves. They didn't bother, they didn't care. And so that is a big red flag. Ledn was the first lender to ever do a proof of reserves attestation back in 2019. We have the longest running proof of reserves program of any lender out there. And that is something that fills us with pride and is a core part of who we are and our offering. So number one, none of the people that collapsed had proof of reserves, which tells you a lot, because when you have a proof of reserves standard, whether it's on chain or on an accounting basis, you have to have discipline. You have to be precise. You cannot, and it has to be able to, it has to be, there's a time factor, right? So you need to be able to put out these reports in a time that is relevant. So you need to have a pedigree or a culture to run your operations precisely with huge attention to detail, such that you can produce these reports in a timely manner and on a timely cadence. Most of the people or most of the companies that today don't yet offer a proof of reserves report is not because their clients don't demand it. Clients want this and demand this. The sad reality is a lot of the companies that don't offer this today is because they cannot. And what I mean about when I say that they cannot is because we at Ledn believe that you have to pour proof of reserves into the foundation of the business as you are building the first steps. Because everything you build on top of that proof of reserves foundation has to be compatible with your proof of reserves protocol. When you try to retroactively bring proof of reserves into a business that's been running for 5, 10 years, has 5, 7 products, and supports God knows how many assets, it becomes almost impossible to know where everything is at a particular point in time. And so proof of reserves is the first red flag. The second red flag is, I would say, most of the companies that fail had their own token, which allows people to play all sorts of shenanigans and outright fraud, right? Ledn has never had a token. There's no intention for us to have a token. Why? We don't need one. The third one is most of the products that brought these people down were not their Bitcoin-backed loans. It was their yield products where they were taking, Shiba Inu or even Bitcoin and turning around and aggregating those assets and lending them, in most cases unsecured with no collateral, to groups like Three Arrows, right? Voyager famously had 67% of their entire assets lent out to Three Arrows, a company that never even offered you financials due diligence. And so the unsecured loans were most often what brought these companies down. A Bitcoin-backed loan can be done very simply. The way Ledn offers Bitcoin-backed loans is the Bitcoin you place as collateral stays in custody of either us or our funding partners. On chain, we see it, it does not move. And contractually, we tell you we will not move it. Most of these other lenders rehypothecated collateral. So whenever you pledge collateral to them to get a loan, they would take that Bitcoin and lend it out unsecured to groups like Three Arrows. That's what brought them down, because when Three Arrows blew up and they couldn't pay back the Bitcoin, the entire ship collapsed. So it was A, the yield products that were being lent unsecured, and B, the rehypothecation practices. So now again, from that I can share, or I can tell you that Ledn has only custody Bitcoin-backed loans. It's the only type of loan we offer, which is we lend you dollars and the Bitcoin sits in custody, either us or our partner's custody, but it does not move. And that, we believe, is the most responsible way to offer these products, because the risk of that Bitcoin going missing is basically very little, if no none. And so on A, on the rehypothecation, and B, on the yield side, yes, at Ledn you can deposit stable coins to earn a yield, but those stable coins are deployed to loans that are 2-to-1 back with Bitcoin in custody. So it's not unsecured yield, it's fully secured yield, right? That has never had a loan default on our Bitcoin-backed loans. And so what brought these companies down was a combination of no regard for risk management. None of these guys had proof of reserves. A lot of them had their own tokens. A lot of them had yield products that issued unsecured loans to generate that yield. A lot of them rehypothecated Bitcoin. And the reason Ledn is here today, and I know it sounds relatively simple if you look back in hindsight, but we did proof of reserves. We are incredibly conservative with how we structure our products. We never had a token. And we focus on the quality assets that we believe are the assets that should be treated as collateral. Bitcoin. That's it. All these other companies were sometimes taking, Shiba Inu backed loans, Dogecoin backed loans. Those things are not as liquid as Bitcoin. And a lot of times when they took yield deposits, like people wanted to earn interest on their Shiba Inu and they deposited it into places like Gemini or others. Nobody wants to borrow Shiba Inu on the institutional side. So they had to go and trade these Shiba Inus into something people did want and then lend that. But if you didn't hedge that trade, because you owe people Shiba Inu, but you've lent out dollars or Bitcoin. So if you're not hedged on the way back, you may not have the same amount of Shiba Inus to pay your withdrawals. And so there were all these unnecessarily complex business models. A lot of it also was outright fraud. Sam is in jail for fraud. So is Mashinsky. And so some of it was also fraud, but a lot of it was just right there staring at you. The other thing is, this goes back to people and diligence, right? But Celsius was giving out dollar loans at 1%. 1%, when Ledn's loans at the same time were costing 10, 12. And I remember I had some calls with people that said, hey, Mao, how can Celsius offer loans at 1%? And my answer was, I don't know. I don't know. And you should ask that question because I do this day and out. I don't want you to go to a different lender. My life revolves around finding you the best cost of capital so that you can stay with me. But if I can't get it for one, even the Fed can't get it for one. How are they getting it for one? I don't know. I think it's too good to be true. And so, again, when something looks too good to be true, people ask the questions, ask the damn questions, right? Like, and you're starting to see some glimpses of that today because it's become pretty evident that you shouldn't sell your Bitcoin, right? And Ledn's been here for 7+ years, but we're seeing 7 years after these products have existed that there's now companies coming out saying, I'm going to offer Bitcoin backed loans now in 2025. And I say, listen, great, I welcome competition, but where were you in 2022, 2023, 2024, 2021, 2020, right? They're rushing offerings of Bitcoin backed loans to market, and they're trying to, they can't compete with us on track record. They can't compete with us on proof of reserves. But what they're trying to do is they're trying to seduce people with these very, very aggressive rates. There is no free lunch, right? And so if something looks too good to be true, it oftentimes is. And so that would be, in summary, I would say why we're here still today and why others are not. I think the ecosystem has changed quite a bit and matured quite a bit. That's not to say these products are without risk, right? And that's why I think so much of the demand today is concentrating to Ledn because we have been tried and tested. And so people today just want to go with something that's safe. They've seen what happens when you try to save an extra percentage point by going to some new untested stuff. And they're not just willing to take that risk.
Yeah. Now, you answered a couple of my big three questions here. You guys have a great track record. Check. You have proof of reserves. Check. But we haven't fully talked about the R word on the tip of everyone's tongues. We touched on it. That, of course, is rates. Where are Bitcoin-backed loans right now compared to traditional borrowing, and how do you see those numbers shifting as banks finally wake up to the orange coin? What do you think?
It's a great question, Hank. And I would say that first, let's start with the sort of overarching view, which is I want these rates to be lower than where they are today. Okay, and they should be, but we have to. It's an education game, and it's a maturation time and a maturation game. So let me just lay the land right now. Bitcoin-backed loans that Ledn today are 12.4% APR. Keep in mind that rate does not require you to make monthly interest payments, right? So a lot of lenders today are. So we pioneered this. We pioneered this idea that Bitcoin-backed loans should not require monthly interest payments because we were issuing loans to people in Venezuela and Colombia that were $1,000 in size. And so if we asked those guys to send us a $10 wire every month, that would be murderous. Why would we ever want to do that? And the other one was, if you're coming to us because you're short fiat, why would we ask you to send us fiat continuously every month? The whole point is for you not to have the fiat. And so we went to market with a product that has no monthly interest payments required. Of course, that means that we have to account for the fact that we're not going to get cash flows for a year in that period. And so if you were to basically translate our interest rate to one that would require monthly interest payments, you would be deducting basically 1 percentage point from our rate. So it would be, call it closer to 11.4. So the first thing is making sure you're comparing the terms apples to apples, because most financial products you see in TradFi require monthly interest payments, and that affects the APR. The APR is basically the percentage rate that you end up paying in total for the loan. So today, Bitcoin-backed loans are 12.4. Private loans, private mortgages, I believe, are somewhere in the, call it 10% range. And then you have mortgages in the sort of 7 to 8% range. And people say, well, Mao, but if Bitcoin's better collateral than a mortgage, why am I paying, 11%-ish on my Bitcoin loans and the mortgage market is sitting at 7 or 8? Well, first of all, Bitcoin financing is a free market. There are no political strings attached into that market. In the mortgage world, mortgage rates are heavily politicized. They are the government wants mortgage rates to be at a particular level, and it allows banks to sell off this mortgage paper to public groups like Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac once they've issued this loan. So the mortgage originator is really just taking the processing fee, getting the money from the government, and then just saying go away, right? Like it's not my cost of capital. I'm taking a spread. I'm borrowing the money from the government at 4.5. I'm lending it to you at 6. I'm keeping the difference. Great. It's who's lending that money to the bank is the government. No one in their sane judgment would, well, that's my personal view, but if the Fed is paying you 4.5% interest rate, but the budget deficit of the United States relative to the money supply is 8.5%, I would argue that most investors should be demanding that they get 8.5 to 9% instead of the 4, because the true rate of debasement of the US dollar is between 8 and 10%. The 4.5 is a fabricated number by some guys in a room in Jackson Hole or whatever at the Fed. And so you cannot go apples to apples, Fed funds rates, government subsidized mortgage rates versus Bitcoin-backed loans, because no one is subsidizing these Bitcoin-backed loans. And I'll give you a perfect example. Right. Michael Saylor, STRC, his most recent offering, preferred, fully secured, dollar denominated. How much is the coupon on that? It's 9%. And so Michael's dollars cost 9%, right? Everyone's dollars, in most cases, cost that. If somebody's willing to deploy dollars at less than that, there's typically another reason behind it, right? Whether it is the government's cutting you a great deal in the back or letting you take an immense amount of leverage, and that's why you're putting it in at that 4.5 rate. I'm seeing a lot of people compare it to DeFi and say that the rates are lower in DeFi. The rates are lower in unregulated KYC-free DeFi. If none of that KYC-free DeFi money touches KYC rails, begs the question, right? Like, why would you be willing to earn 4.5% at Aave when Michael Saylor's STRC is paying you 10? For the culture? I don't know. Maybe for the culture. And also when you're using DeFi as a Bitcoiner, you're having to wrap your Bitcoin, first of all, and that's most likely a taxable event, not tax advice, but check, because wrapping the Bitcoin is most often considered a taxable event. Then you're doing that and you're sending it to some protocol that's probably a few years old, most often. And then you're borrowing some stable coins. You don't know who those stable coins are coming from. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but it could be. And so you just don't know, right? And so I think there's like pockets of capital that at first glance look like they're priced differently, but you really have to understand the reasons of why those prices are what they are. Listen, I want my rates to be lower more than anyone, because I know my lower rates means more loans for me, means a bigger book, means people can use my loans for more. Our job, I'm not saying mine, our job collectively at Ledn is to not only deliver you the best experience and the safest experience, but the most cost-effective one too, right? That's one of our biggest views when we decided to be a regulated company, was that our view was that the cheapest cost of capital came from these hyper-regulated entities, whether you're a pension fund, a bank, or an endowment fund. You can't just deploy funds into some KYC-free pools, not knowing where that money is going. You have to make sure that you're not breaking any rules by deploying that cash. And so Ledn, with a perfect track record, 0 losses in Bitcoin-backed loans over 10 years, and paying double Fed funds rates over that period of time, is what's causing banks and other companies to start competing to fund our loans. And I think that these rates are going to materially compress over the next 1 to 2 years. Now, will they ever get to mortgage? I don't know, because mortgage isn't real. Mortgage rates aren't reality because the government's in the way, right? Where I can tell you is that they will most likely match and surpass private lending rates, because private lending rates aren't subsidized by anybody, right? So in a apples to apples, no subsidy comparison, yes, it will be cheaper to borrow from your Bitcoin than anything else in the future. The hands of the government are big and they're very intrusive. And so I wouldn't be surprised if they kept trying to artificially create better conditions for people to invest in real estate or other assets by basically artificially fixing the financing rate for those assets. But all this to say that in a free market context, Bitcoin will win.
Interesting. Well, I appreciate you unraveling all that for us, Mauricio. There's a lot to process there, but I'm just like kind of chomping at the bit to learn more. I wish we had more time. I could listen to you talk about this all day. And I'm sure I'm not the only one. I'm sure there are plenty of viewers out there that, you know, it's one thing to hear it from the horse's mouth, but it's another thing, as we all kind of have to on our own Bitcoin journeys, to dig in and do our own research to decide if this arena is for us. You said a lot of amazing things about Bitcoin and Ledn specifically. So for those people in our audience that are like, you know what, I've liked everything Mauricio has to say and I'd like to learn more, where's the best place I can send them to get more information on all the products you offer at Ledn? And where can they follow you to get more of your takes on the Bitcoin ecosystem? Because you just have such an amazingly well-rounded knowledge and you've lived the Bitcoin life in the realest terms for a while now. So where could they find more about Ledn and more about you if they wanted to learn more?
For sure. Ledn.io is the best place to go. If you have any questions, there's a widget there that goes straight to our team. You'll get an answer back in minutes. For myself, you can follow me on Twitter, X, I'm the most active, at Cryptonomist with an A at the end, Cryptonomista. And Ledn is HODL with Ledn, at HODL with Ledn. We're pretty active. My DMs are open. So if you have any questions, if you want to chat, just send me a note. I'll be more than happy to answer your questions and tell you more about what we do. But yeah, and the other thing is we're very, very proud of our reviews. So feel free to ask about Ledn to any of the, AI of choice or reader reviews. But we're very, very proud of what we built and welcome everybody and welcome people to diligence us, right? Like even before you do business with us, do the diligence. We're very proud of it.
Amazing. Well, Mauricio, I got to say thank you so much for your time and sharing your expertise and insights in the industry with us. They are really invaluable, and we're super excited to see what Ledn's going to be cooking up in the next few years, especially as, at least here in the United States, you know, regulations are becoming a lot more favorable to the space. So I'm sure you guys will have plenty of new innovations down the line. And when you do, you better come back on the show and share them with us right here on the Blockchain Report. Deal?
Will do, brother. You'll be hearing from us soon.
Love it. All right. Well, thank you so much again for your time, Mauricio, and we'll hope to have you back really soon. Okay, my friend?
Cheers, Hank.
Wish you could grab cash without selling your Bitcoin? Yeah, me too. But hey, that's why Ledn exists. They're the global leader in Bitcoin-backed loans. We're talking over $9 billion issued since 2018 with a perfect record protecting client assets. Now you might be asking, what makes a Ledn loan different? Well, with custodied loans, your collateral, it stays put. They don't go degen and lend it out for yield. There are no credit checks. It funds in under 6 hours. No monthly payments. You can repay anytime with 0 penalties. And for transparency, grown-ups actually want proof of reserves reports every 6 months verified by a top accounting firm. Bottom line is Ledn lets Bitcoin holders unlock liquidity without selling. And you can check them out at ledn.io/RoxomTV. That's ledn.io/RoxomTV. All right, welcome back. It's time for Socially Awkward, so let's get weird and get on into it. As new research says, short-form video is not only wrecking teen attention spans, it's nuking focus for pretty much everyone with a smartphone and a thumb. A meta-study from Griffith University looked at 71 surveys with nearly 100,000 people and found a clear link. The more short-form content you consume, the worse your ability to focus and control impulses. So yes, your brain is being trained to treat every 4 seconds of boredom like a life-threatening emergency. Psychologist Jonathan Haidt, who has already been warning about social media and mental health, now says the bigger problem might be the collapse of human attention itself. He puts it like this: humans are getting dumber at the exact moment that machines are getting smarter. People of all ages are reporting the same thing. They cannot watch TV without reaching for their phone. They can't eat without scrolling. They can't sit in a class or a meeting without quickly checking something and then disappearing into the feed. Teachers say students cannot sit still or read anything longer than a few lines. And now, even teachers themselves admit they struggle to read books or watch movies without grabbing a second screen. The study's theory is actually pretty simple. Your brain gets used to fast, high stimulation content and starts rejecting anything that requires slow and sustained focus. The good news is that some people are escaping. One student deleted social apps, blocked YouTube, and suddenly had the mental energy to read 52 books in a single year. Turns out you do not have no time, you got TikTok. And the scariest part is that the opportunity cost is invisible. It is all the things you never built, never learned, and never tried because your attention was busy making some platform ad revenue instead. All right, welcome back. It's time for some AIOs. So let's see what the robots are up to, shall we? First up, it looks like Tesla stock jumped up over 6% after Elon Musk told the world that Tesla isn't really a car company. It's actually an AI chip company that also happens to sell cars on the side, like a kid running a lemonade stand with a crypto mining rig. Now, Musk posted that Tesla has designed and deployed several million AI chips already, powering self-driving tech and data centers. Investors responded immediately because when Elon tweets, the stock market behaves like a golden retriever hearing someone open the refrigerator. He also said Tesla is upgrading its chip line from A14s to A15s, with the A16 already in the works, and the plans to launch new chips every 12 months, a pace that makes Intel look like it's using Windows Vista. Now, this comes as Tesla's EV business faces serious competition and slower demand, so rebranding as an AI hardware juggernaut is a convenient way of saying, ignore the cars, look at the shiny chips. Now, the broader market was already rallying thanks to expectations of a Federal Reserve rate cut, which would make financing a Tesla slightly less similar to taking out a second mortgage. So now, Tesla is riding two narratives at once: tech optimism and rate cut hopium. Musk is basically betting that if investors stop thinking of Tesla as a car company and start thinking of it as an AI hardware company, the stock becomes bulletproof again. Tesla may have turned a corner, or Musk may have created another hype window that expires by next Thursday. Either way, the stock is very much alive again. In a story that sounds like the start of an AI horror film, China's AGI bot A2 humanoid robot walked 66 miles in just 3 days, earning a Guinness World Record for longest distance traveled by something that will eventually replace you. The robot walked from Suzhou to Shanghai, obeying traffic laws, navigating varied terrain, and politely not overthrowing humanity. Its creators emphasize that it did the entire journey in one continuous trek, which feels unnecessary because my phone could barely make it to 4 p.m. Now, the AGI bot says the robot is designed for customer service, which is adorable because nothing says soothing customer service experience like a silent metal figure with perfect posture and lip reading capabilities. China is going all in on humanoid robots, hosting the world's first robot Olympics and pushing companies to dominate global automation. By 2050, Morgan Stanley predicts more than 1 billion humanoid robots worldwide, which sounds high until you remember the US has 330 million people and somehow 600 million active cell phones. MIT researchers say humanoid robots will give humanity physical powers, which is a polite way of telling you your boss is thinking about replacing you with something that doesn't need a lunch break. Now, this story doesn't really change your life unless you were already losing sleep over whether robots could walk long distances without falling over like a newborn deer. Robots trekking cross country mostly signals one thing: we're about to see a lot more automation, a lot more AI, and a future where machines are out here doing cardio most humans wouldn't attempt sober. But for now, it's mainly a robot that went on a very long walk because someone wanted to flex on Guinness. All right, and welcome back for our deep dive today. We've got an absolute legend joining us here from the Bitcoin space, a true cypherpunk, a builder, and someone who's been shaping the payments ecosystem from behind the keyboard for years. He's the mind behind key contributions to BTC Pay Server, former VP of Engineering at Strike, and is one of the loudest voices for privacy, decentralization, and building a fiatless future. Please give a big blockchain report welcome to the one and only Uncle Rockstar Developer. Welcome to the show. We are super pumped to have you. Thanks for joining us today. How are you?
Thank you. Yeah, pleasure to be here. And I wasn't feeling great, to be honest, but with this intro, I'm now pumped. I'm ready to go.
Love to hear it. The intro's the cure that ails us. So, Unc, first question right off the jump, okay? Uncle Rockstar Developer. How did that nickname start? Why did you choose to embrace it? Tell us about it. I love the fit.
Yeah, it's the whole, like 3 parts. Uncle, Rockstar, Developer. I mean, it's a long story, but I'll try to keep it short because you know how all the companies want to hire Rockstar developers, right?
Right.
There is that whole joke like, oh, you know, we are looking a Rockstar developer to join our team. And there is a great comic where a guy comes to an interview and then they say like, hey, we're looking for a Rockstar developer to join our team. He takes a monitor, throws it out of the window, shoots some drugs into his arm, like falls asleep, and then interviewers say like, oh, he's good, you know, he's hired. So I love that, and I was just looking for a name to use when supporting Nicolas Dorier.
Okay.
Founder of BTC Pay Server project. So I tried few names and they didn't stick. The one that stuck was Rockstar Developer, and that's how it started. And as I was contributing to Bitcoin ecosystem, I was supporting a lot of young developers, young Bitcoiners who are not developers, and one of them was Jack Mallers, who started calling me Unc. So Uncle,
Okay.
and it stuck. Seeing the success 2 of us had in Bitcoin, some other Bitcoiners approached me and they were like, "Hey, can you help me have as much success as Jack?" I'm like, "Well, not sure, but we can try." And now pretty much everyone calls me Uncle, so I'm a Bitcoin Uncle. So there is the short history behind the name.
Amazing. And what's interesting to me, especially aside from the name, is you've managed to stay synonymous in this space where many people are public facing and want to be public facing. So I guess my question is, why is anonymity important to you, and what does that allow you to do that maybe you couldn't otherwise?
For me, as a cypherpunk, I kind of try to practice what I preach, right? And value of privacy, value of keeping your data your own is something that we in Bitcoin and in cypherpunk talk a lot about. And for me, it's, again, not just talking the talk, but walking the walk. And showing also that it can be done, because I think we're at the point where masks are normalized on Bitcoin conference scene, like event scene. If you have people like me who are not comfortable sharing their likeness and putting it into public domain, now they also have an example in me of how they can do it. You know, you don't need to go full bandana and everything like you can do COVID mask. We see other pseudonymous developers like Kale who have a different type of mask. So to me, it's just something that, again, this is how I enjoy participating in this course that Bitcoin is. And I think it's also very important for the future, is because we're getting to the point where privacy will be one of the most valuable things you can possess. And again, I don't want my likeness, my face, my private persona to be part of Bitcoin. I want that in this structure that I've created with a mask, sunglasses, hat. And then for my private life, I'm keeping that data. And it's actually working. You know, if you go to Chat GPT and you type in, who is Uncle Rockstar Developer, it will give you this.
Oh,
you
wow.
know?
That's pretty
And
good.
if you type in my government first name, last name, it will tell you, yeah, I have no idea.
Wow, you
who
kept
that
it
guy
under
is.
wraps better than Daft Punk was even able to, and they were in a similar boat for a long time.
Well, I also I'm not that popular, and hopefully I stay at this level or be less popular, because at the end of the day, yeah, if people want to dig, and for a lot of people, it is something where they're simply programmed that way to ask, like, oh, you know, how old are you? What's your real name? And
Right.
that type of stuff. It will be there, but I think even those people, for them it's clear, like, okay, I respect your identity in that way. It has certain reputation behind it, and I think it would even be weird for people seeing, some other name attached to this likeness other than Uncle Rockstar Developer.
Yeah, and honestly, like, the mystery is kind of part of the fun. I got a feeling the ladies are probably loving it. Ladies love mystery.
Listen, I love that you're joining the party, because I've shown you how much fun I had at Bitcoin Asia, and
Yeah.
shout out to all the 50-year-old Chinese ladies that took pictures with me at Bitcoin
There were
Asia.
so many.
I love you. No, I had no idea that that's what will motivate me to code more, man, and contribute to Bitcoin. So I just actually posted on X one of the photos. So yeah.
You got a whole new fan base I don't think you were even aware of that's now just creeping up.
It's mutual, ladies. I love it, and the more 50-year-old ladies we have in Bitcoin, the stronger we will be.
I love it. I love to hear it. So in terms of Bitcoin, we have the picture. There it is. Incredible. Incredible. You're like the unofficial, like, Marvel superhero of the monetary system, I think. That's why I think everyone's gravitating you.
All
so
of us, yeah.
Oh, that's incredible. I love that. And you got the white suit that time, always dressed in fresh. I love the accessorizing. So, Ankh, I gotta wonder, for someone like you, a developer, what initially got you into the Bitcoin space? Did you read the white paper and you're like, I need to immediately dedicate my life to this? Or what was that process like for you?
Well, it was a long process, because I've had the luck to grow up in a hyperinflation. So, I mean, a lack of fortune. I'm joking, of course,
Right.
but it was something, not only hyperinflation, but civil war. And then as a young adult, I've struggled a lot to come to terms with the fact that it happened like that. It was like, oh, why did I needed to needlessly suffer through this?
Right.
But then Bitcoin happened, and it turned out that it wasn't needless. It was actually a huge advantage. I had practical PhD in inflation, and immediately I understood the value prop of Bitcoin. And I think it's similar for a lot of people who are not from the US, who are around the world. But then also, I must tell you, I insanely admire people from US who got Bitcoin early, because you have the best financial system in the world.
Yeah.
And you go towards, hey, I do not want to coast on the advantage of money printer, printing infinite dollars, exporting inflation around the world. I want to fight for fairer system. So Americans that are supporters of Bitcoin now, or even in like 2015, 2012, I admire you. So for me, it was way more practical, because as soon as Bitcoin happened, I was like, okay, this is it. This will help us separate state and money, especially, again, as someone that followed Cypherpunk's mailing list and was always for, dismantling some of the functions of government, not completely, but taking some of the functions like control over money. I was like, this is it. I just thought that governments will ban Bitcoin. They will realize how powerful this is, and they will ban it. As many others, I was victim of that, trap, that myth. Now, all of us, we well understand that Bitcoin is not something that governments will be able to ban and block. And for me, really, when I saw in 2014 that members of U.S. Congress are buying Bitcoin, once we crossed 1,000, I was like, okay, from here on, it will be way easier. And nowadays, what? We have a president of U.S. being a cheerleader for Bitcoin.
Right.
Stacking sats, like filling the bag in this paper Bitcoin summer for his family. So yeah, we are on a path of no return.
If you were looking back to when you first got in the business, in the industry, and you look at now, 2025, six-figure Bitcoin price targets, we have the government not rejecting but almost seemingly embracing Bitcoin. Are you surprised where we're at now? Did you think we would be further or maybe even further behind where we are today?
I think we're further ahead than I would say we would be. To me, really what happened over past year 2 it's insane, man.
Yeah.
I mean, I tell people Bitcoin is what helped elect Trump. And but for you and me, it's something that's so obvious. For a lot of people, it's like, no, it was Kamala Harris this or that. No, it's the fact that Kamala and Democrats and their whole deep state rejected Bitcoin, rejected the whole industry, and tried to destroy it.
Yeah.
So the fact, and even with the people that reject the premise that Bitcoin elected Trump, they say and they understand that maybe then it helped Kamala lose. So the fact that Bitcoin is this powerful and that the whole faction around Bitcoin will play a huge role in U.S. politics for years to come. It's not something that I thought will arrive this fast. And then also the amount of empowerment that Bitcoin is giving, not only in politics, like politics is not part of my interest, but more like to developers, to contributors, to people like you who work on Bitcoin and contribute to Bitcoin in your own unique way.
Right.
It's insane, man. And you see how many people now see us and they want to join in. They want to add their unique flavor to Bitcoin. So I really am excited about that part. And we're further away than I thought. But still, this is to me just the beginning. Like where we are going, we're not going to the moon. We're going to Mars. We're going beyond the solar system, beyond this galaxy, and I honestly can't wait.
Yeah, and I like that you mentioned like the different flavors. Like we're at this point now in Bitcoin's journey where there is room for these different flavors that are emerging. You are your own unique flavor that is clearly like serving a certain sect of the market. I am this weird new flavor that some people like, some people don't, whatever. But there is that room. Max and Stacy have been their own vintage flavor for a long time. So yeah, like we're kind of entering that new phase of Bitcoin's journey where there is room for all that, and we're seeing it more and more as more people pile in to the space. In fact, you, I believe, were just at Bitcoin Asia, right? So tell us about that. What was that like? How was that compared to like Vegas, which just happened a few months ago, and you brought some cool toys here? Like, tell us about the whole experience. I need to know.
No, again, that's the beauty of Bitcoin as a system. Like I usually shock people when I say that I like fiat system. I mean, I like what it did for humanity up to a certain point, and where it brought us, because obviously we couldn't have continued with trading gold coins and whatnot. Like we needed some better technology to accelerate and help faster develop technology. The thing is though, like fiat has outlived its purpose. It's obvious that we cannot give trust to governments to control money and be like, hey, trust us, this is the last trillion we will print. Like we only need a trillion more. That's it. And then we're going to fix all the problems. Like, we know they're lying. They know they're lying. Like everyone knows they're lying, but the system is broken. And Bitcoin as the most perfect money we have invented as a system for cooperation is what allows what you say is, you and me, we're cooperating without coordinating through, some kind of committee and being like, hey man, do this episode at this time. I'm going no man, it's just Bitcoin brings us together in a great way, and we're building on work that others did. You mentioned Max and Stacy. They serve as inspiration. So they've done stuff you can now build on top of what they've done. I have coded parts of BTC Pay server. It's open source. Some other developers are building on top of that code, and we're all doing it under this umbrella of Bitcoin. So for me, that's really the true beauty of the system. And then you add, as you say, like Bitcoin Asia. Bitcoin Asia as a conference, like I would really encourage every Bitcoiner that hasn't been to events in Asia to go, because they're completely different.
Ooh, how so?
Completely different. Like the culture, the level of excitement. I would say the excitement about Bitcoin, and then unfortunately about shit coins and crypto is huge. Like all the scams in Asia, they're the worst. But the level of excitement is unlike anything I've seen in Europe or US. Then when you go to European conferences, what's different is that Bitcoin as medium of exchange is used the most. Like the deployments we have done with BTC Pay server at conferences and people actually using Bitcoin as medium of exchange, that's where Europe absolutely leads. And then US conferences here are the biggest shows. Like when you look at Las Vegas this year, huge, like all the people that came, all the events that you had, all the simping for JD Vance.
Yes, there was
all of that.
Of those.
Listen, it's great that JD Vance also simped for Bitcoin. So I appreciate like the fact how everything came together. That Ripple threw in, towel, waved white flag, and it's like, hey, here is our statue. Please forgive us, Bitcoiners. Let's like stop calling us out and us scammers. Like, it didn't work. But they, donated that statue to Bitcoin Museum in Nashville. I think it's a nice gesture. But again, you need to go to US, you need to go to European, you need to go to Asian Bitcoin conferences. They all have their unique flavor, and I love how we all are cooperating through this better system that Bitcoin is.
Yeah, well, it kind of feels like, to me, the way I think of it is, everything is relevant until you find something better that naturally can replace it. So it kind of feels like fiat's the horse and carriage, and we're in cars now, and Bitcoin's the car. Of course, we're going to embrace the car. It doesn't mean that the horse and carriage had its perks, but like cars are better, right? Is that kind of why you think the energy was different in Asia? Are they kind of reaching that inflection point at a different time than maybe we have here in the Americas? Are they a little behind us? What was your impression there?
I mean, they are in their own unique flavor. They also had maybe the craziest paper Bitcoin summer with MetaPlanet.
Right.
Like it's still doing numbers. And the culture is very different. It's more collectivistic, K-pop.
Right.
It is hard to explain. And again, for me, we opened up with 50-year-old Chinese ladies. Like I can't get that anywhere else, man. And again,
there must be a Facebook group or something.
There are more photos. I'm gonna keep publishing them, and then man, with these figurines also, there was quite a fun.
Yeah, what are these? Tell us about these things.
How do I tell the story the best? So origin of this. Plan B Lugano is Bitcoin conference in Lugano, Switzerland, organized by Tether, and it's again one of the best conferences. If you have a chance to go, it's now in October.
Okay, cool.
And they, those image generators like ChatGPT, where you can put your image and it generates the figure of you in the box. Like that meme.
Yeah.
So they've Plan B Lugano, shout out to them. They've used that original way to announce us speakers.
Oh, cool.
So, you know,
Yeah.
you had Paolo Arduino little figure, you had Giacomo Zucco figure, and they announced Uncle Rockstar Developer as a speaker, and there was a little figure in the box.
Oh, so cool.
So,
what an honor.
yeah, absolutely. But I didn't expect what will happen next. My brother, Fractal Encrypt, who is one of the best artists and creators that we have in Bitcoin. Like, you know, that statue that Sailor always sits in front. Like
Yeah.
that big. So
Yeah.
Fractal created that statue,
okay.
and he's an amazing artist. He took that little picture and put it into AI 3D model
So cool.
creator, and AI created 3D model for 3D printing. Yeah.
That is so wild.
So,
yeah, it looks just
then-
like you. They nailed it. They nailed it.
well, I should have came in white, but what happened is he published that. Then printer Go Burr, who is 3D printer,
Yeah.
he took it, polished it, and suddenly there was Rockstar action figure, man.
Oh, man.
And now in Asia, shout out to Sean from BTC Inc.
Yeah.
He started. We talked a little bit, and what is happening? There's maybe 30 of these figures.
Oh, wow. Limited edition.
Well, limited. The thing is, 2 of them are already with billionaires.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So Sean came up with this. Said, well, actually, if you have Rockstar, Uncle Rockstar figure,
Yeah.
technically, like on average, you are a millionaire, like more than a millionaire. You know.
Oh, wow.
So acquiring rare uncles is a way to riches. And he started spreading the meme. Man, some Asian lady heard that, came to the store. She was, can I buy 50?
Oh, wow.
So now craziness with rare uncles will be starting, but I'm trying to turn that towards more these laser eye cards and what, especially because of what's on the back. It's the QR code
Yeah.
to Vences Caceres white paper on why Bitcoin. He's done a phenomenal job
Oh,
writing
yeah.
that.
Yeah. Wences is ahead of his time for sure. How do you feel, though? It seems like you're your own asset class now. You're like your own collectible. People collect watches like they're, holding value. We have these now.
Hey, I'm telling you, especially because Sean is right. It's math. Like if you have a rare uncle, you are in select company. I feel great, and the best thing about it though is I hope that it inspires other developers like me, because at the end of the day, the way I contribute the most to Bitcoin is development. So what I hope is more developers see this, so we do their action figures,
Right, right.
We see these bolt cards with laser eyes as a super cool way to spread Bitcoin, and for people, for example, that come to the conferences.
There we go.
Yeah.
That looks good. That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
No, for people that come to the conferences and don't have Bitcoin wallets, we give them these bolt cards.
And
They
we got to
use
show them
it-
how that works, because that
Okay.
has a pretty cool parlor trick that kind of blew my mind when I saw it.
Let me show it.
Yeah, so this is quite neat. So it's not just any ordinary QR card. It also,
Can we see? Oh,
is it lighting up? There we go. The eyes light up, if you can see that. Yeah, so not lit up there. He puts it up against there, and then they burn right into our souls. That's amazing. Oh my goodness, the genius of Wences coming through in the laser eyes of the Bitcoin card. So cool.
Well, laser eyes keep you focused on Bitcoin, and again, one of the great things that Vences agreed when we were talking on these cards is to put some Bitcoin on them.
Oh,
So
okay.
people in Asia, they were able to, tap, check the balance.
Okay.
And then if they pulled the card with some Bitcoin on it, they were able to either use it at the conference or when conference ended, download it to their wallets. So I really hope, we continue to invent cool technology, because Bolt cards are done as an open source standard. On X, you can search Bolt_card. It's that account that links to all the cool tech. And then it's not only Bitcoin and Lightning. It's eCash now. can also be put on these cards. Or, it's for me, it's all, how do we scam people into profits? How do we pull them into Bitcoin in the easiest way possible?
Yeah.
And again, shout out to Vences for agreeing to help with this, giving his likeness to it, and we're gonna keep producing cool stuff and getting more people into Bitcoin.
And you said you were giving these away in Asia, right? I think we know why all those ladies liked it. That you were the sugar daddy unintentionally. You were just giving out little bits of Bitcoin sugar to anybody who would come by. Yeah, no wonder you're a fan favorite.
Listen, you gotta come with me to Asia next time. With your looks, because I don't dominate on looks. Like, I'll be mystery, you be looks, and then
might be height. I'm like Godzilla. I've been to Japan. They were terrified. They all ran away from me.
It's because you didn't have uncle next to you.
I think that's right.
Yeah.
He's okay. He won't hurt you. He's with me. Totally. So, Uncle, you mentioned about the MetaPlanet stuff while you're there. That is, the whole Bitcoin treasury narrative has been the talk of the town for most of this year, right? They've recently got like 20,000 in their treasury. But then it kind of begs the question, right? Does having these large corporate treasuries piling in Bitcoin every seeming couple days we're hearing about, does that kind of risk centralizing too much power into the hands of a few, which kind of goes against the very ethos of Bitcoin to begin with? Like, how are you feeling about this right now? It's good for a number go up, but
I feel good, man.
Yeah.
The stuff that I don't feel so good about is this whole MNAV and the fact that this whole hype is getting people to say buy stock of a certain company at MNAV that's crazy.
Yeah.
And then when stock goes down, like, those people are rugged essentially. So it's a terrible intro to Bitcoin for some. So that part is really what worries me the most. But again, people that are doing that, are they driven by greed? Are they driven by ignorance? It's a free market at the end of the day. So I don't know. I don't have an answer to that question.
yeah.
But when it comes to whether it's too much centralization, I do have an answer to that question, and the answer to me is no. Because you look at MicroStrategy, you look at MetaPlanet, you look at all the biggest paper Bitcoin companies, and all of them together is what? How many percent?
I think it's only 6%.
6%
of
of
half of that's MicroStrategy.
Yes. Yeah, so it's nowhere near 50%, 51%, and they can't get there. The beauty of Bitcoin for me is that distribution schedule was so good, man. And a majority of Bitcoin will always be no KYC. So as long as we continue to produce technology like coin joins, pay joins, eCash, and we keep using Bitcoin as a medium of exchange so that sats flow from those that have a lot to those that have less, I think we're good. I think with all these companies that are buying Bitcoin, stacking sats, it's all good, because people even like hate on me for my appreciation for Saylor. Like I say, hey, I appreciate the guy because he's shown skin in the game.
Right.
Like, if show me someone else who has put tens of billions of dollars like a fiat online and then held it through 50%, 60, 70% correction. It takes huge conviction for that, and shout out to him for doing that. So for me, man, as long as they're buying Bitcoin, they're promoting Bitcoin, they're not hyping up too many people to ape in at huge MNAV, it's all good. And at the end of the day, for those that think that these people are co-opting and can get to the point where they're using Bitcoin, I can tell you, like, chill out. Whenever you think that you're using Bitcoin, Bitcoin is actually using you. So it's like Wall Street. It's a Trojan horse, man.
Yeah. And Saylor, you know, the guy has really walked the walk like nobody's business. Like you
Exactly.
said, he's been through the drawdowns. He's been doing it for 5 or 6 years now. But does that make you pause at all when we're seeing all these people kind of cosplaying as Michael Saylor, trying to implement that similar strategy without having the track record, without necessarily having the same cost basis? I mean, his basis is around like 73,000, right? So what do you think happens when we inevitably see a correction? Are we going to see a shakeout of a lot of these people that are trying to do that same playbook, but just under different circumstances? It seems inevitable, right?
Yes, exactly, man. That's again goes back to what I say. Like, remember, people, whenever you think you're using Bitcoin, Bitcoin is using you. So we had a great example with SBF.
Right.
Like, the fact that we crashed so much was because Bitcoin was in hands of weak people.
Right.
It was people that were acquiring Bitcoin and then launching their own shitcoin scams where they would, you know, trade Bitcoin for some worthless token. And they were like, well, it's actually on my balance sheet as an asset in, I don't know, Monkey Coin. And it's like, I have billion of Monkey Coin. Like, it's completely illiquid. So it's these weak people, and then Celsius, man. Terrible. Mashinsky, all of these people that were talking the talk, but not walking the walk, not setting them up for success. In the end, hey, everyone that believed in Bitcoin got to stack cheap, you know, sats. And then, unfortunately, I think that you know, human character is such that a lot of us will be leveraged for greed. That's what Bitcoin feeds on, like that greed. So when paper Bitcoin summer eventually comes to an end and there is a shakeout, there will be a huge correction. What is important to realize there is fundamentals are unchanged. We all know governments will keep printing money, and I always say Bitcoin doesn't have top because fiat doesn't have bottom.
Ooh,
yeah, it's something that a lot of other people in Bitcoin say as well, but it is like that. When you look at current landscape from technology perspective, like, what is the better alternative? There isn't. Like, what will AI use as a currency? Like, these paper bills that you know, Christine Lagarde can decide, or, you know, Jay Powell can you know, lower the interest rate, and Trump didn't influence it. Like, we all know it's a scam. So there is no better alternative. Again, I just hope that paper summer Bitcoin doesn't, you know, go that much up, because then it's a bigger crash. But let's see what happens. At the end of the day, I don't worry about centralization. I don't worry too much about you know, companies stacking sats. So yeah, let's see what happens.
Yeah, and when that paper Bitcoin treasury thing eventually does have its correction that we're waiting for, we're going to hear from everyone again that Bitcoin is dead again, and they'll be writing the next obituary, and then it'll just be like FTX in its own weird way, rinse and repeat. We'll come back stronger and better than we have before. Now, what's an interesting point about this quote-unquote cycle that we're in, right, is that there's a lot of people calling for the end of the traditional cycles as we've seen them in the past, right? For a couple reasons. It's like over 96% of all Bitcoin has already been mined. We have institutional money is in the game like never before. Do you feel like Bitcoin is still going to follow the traditional cycle pattern to some degree, or are we kind of working our way out of that phase of Bitcoin's journey into this kind of maybe slow and more methodical number go up than we had previously?
I again, as not an expert, as a developer, I look more towards analysis of people like Saifedean, Preston Pish, Bitcoiners like that, Ledn, and following their work, one thing that I kind of realized was we are definitely in a different paradigm, because if you look at, say, 10 years ago, right. There was so much more risk associated with Bitcoin, but there was, because the risk was higher, the upside was higher.
Of course, yeah.
So now we are definitely in a phase where there is less upside, but there is tons of risk is way less.
Yeah.
So an example, if you said to someone 10 years ago, hey, invest your 100% of your retirement into Bitcoin, they would call you insane.
Yeah.
Right? Now, if you come to someone who is planning for retirement and they have 0% invested in Bitcoin, they're the insane ones.
Absolutely.
So like risk profile is completely different.
It really is.
It's like, if you are now not having Bitcoin in your retirement portfolio, what the hell you are doing? You expect kind of to want do 100x or 1000x, but you know that in 10 years, in 20 years, it will very likely be the best performing asset in your retirement portfolio. So that's my way of answering that question.
Yeah.
Like, again, I don't know, but I definitely see that the risk reward profile has switched, and I honestly like it. I think that for me, again, as someone that's ideologically in all of this, I want to see a world in which like everyone is invested in Bitcoin, everyone has that skin of the game, to also help our politicians and governments give away that control over money, and we usher in new golden age.
And he mentioned, politics and governments are really at play in a way we haven't seen before. Just in Bitcoin Asia, right? I think Eric Trump took the stage, said Bitcoin is definitely going to 2 million. How do you feel about the Trumps or Eric Trump giving their 2 cents as part of this ecosystem now? Is that a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Is it maybe a 2 steps forward, 1 step back type situation? Because on a regulation level, it seems good, but then Trump coin, World Liberty Financial, don't really love it. How do you feel about what's going on in that arena right now?
Man, Melania launches a coin and then it kills Trump coin.
It did.
That was hilarious.
That was funny. That was funny.
How I feel about it is that it's inevitable, man.
Yeah.
It's inevitable. I again, as someone that's focused more on freedom go up, that's focused more on cypherpunk philosophy, it is a bittersweet, you spend decade plus, like I've spent, contributing to Bitcoin.
Right.
And then Eric Trump comes in and has 100 times, 1,000 times more impact as a Bitcoin ambassador.
Right.
So it's easy for ego to step in, which it does for a lot of people. And then it's like, oh, no, it shouldn't be like that. It should be. No, from my side, hey, Eric, more power to you, man. I wish more people showed up for my talk, but everyone wanted to show up for Eric Trump's talk, and there is a reason why it's like that. Like, again, we live in a society that's structured in a certain way, and the mere fact that we live in that reality means that there is some value. To me, I always talk about the fact that it's great that we have politicians. It's great that we have people like Eric Trump, like Donald Trump. And it's great that we have created this circus called elections because every 4 there is a 2% of population that has highly psychotic tendencies. So if we didn't create governments and elections and that structure with Senate and whatnot, these people, man, they would be running mobs. Like they would be running gangs.
Some they might be doing it right now,
they are, but they need to pretend, that they need to go on TV and say all the right things. And then the best spoken psychopath wins and keeps the rest of the society, like us, it keeps us safe from all these other psychopaths.
Right, I guess
So,
that's true. Who's the most honorable psychopath? That's the election right
Hey,
there.
as long as we get money out of their hands, like that control lever, and
Right.
they're helping us right now.
It's true.
It's good.
Yeah.
And Eric Trump is a good speaker.
Yeah.
So if he can rally more people to Bitcoin, if he can inspire this change we're part of, again, more power to him. And, the rest of us in Bitcoin that have contributed but haven't gotten recognition we think we deserve,
Right.
tough luck. Deal with your ego. And as long as Bitcoin succeeds, you're hopefully invested in Bitcoin. I have 0 Bitcoin, just for the record, but hopefully you're invested.
Yeah.
And the reward is in the outcome, man. So more power to everyone that's working to push Bitcoin forward.
Yeah, and it's like that old saying, any kind of publicity is good publicity, and that's especially when it comes to Bitcoin, because once you're in and you take the time to do the research, you realize that all the problems we've seen, the FTXs, the Celsius, whatever, were never Bitcoin problems. They were human problems that occurred when people were using Bitcoin in different ways. And that's, again, people conflate that, oh, it's a crypto thing, crypto scam. No. People are the scam. People are where these things originate. So Bitcoin is pure. We just sometimes sully the waters of even the most pure fountains, right?
Yeah, and it's also that there are cycles.
Right.
There are, like, even now in Bitcoin, there is a lot of argument, flaming for this, for that, whether certain people should be welcomed back in Bitcoin and whatnot. But it's as you say, like it's human nature. And for me, the important thing is that Bitcoin is staying on the course, and
Right.
it's going towards the goal. The goal we should always keep in mind is separating state and money. And as long as we're doing that, we're good. Because it's not that we're just need to fight to reform fiat system. Is also, as you say, the Quan, man, and the whole Terra scam and Luna.
Yeah.
And it's going to be volatile. And we have to fight with that in a way. Fight through education, like educate people. Hey, you will not discover a new penny coin that has a value prop. It's just like stay humble, stack sats.
That's right.
Focus on your craft, and just wait those 10, 15 years. Create some kind of fun for you, because that's the worst thing that happens to 90+% of people. They get in. People tell them focus on Bitcoin. They're like, no. They get wrecked first 4 years.
Yep.
And then they need to recover. They're like, oh, well,
Yep.
these Bitcoiners were actually right. If only I listened.
Yeah, no one's ever lost money if they've held Bitcoin for 4 years. So there you go.
There we
Proof
go.
is in the pudding. Well, Ankh, we got to get going. But before we do, you've got a lot of really interesting takes on the space. You've been in it for a long time. You have these cool cards and all these cool things that we can check out. I'm sure there's plenty of people in our audience who may not have been familiar with you before, but are now. What's the best place they can go to get more of this, the mystery, the intrigue, the Bitcoin insight? Where can I send them?
So you can send them to Uncle Rockstar Dev on X. So it's R0C, as long as you type R0C Rockstar Dev. You just type in the first 3 characters. There we go on the screen.
Yep.
You will find me, and you can follow, mention this interview. I'm going to follow you back. And besides that, also Noster. Noster is something I'm advocating for, because eventually, we're going to abandon all these centralized social networks and stop feeding the data machine of Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg. We're gonna reform that as well, and I think it will be Noster protocol. So you can find me on primal.net/rockstar, or start from what is on the screen right now, like X, and go from there, and you'll get more of this, especially if you're a 50-year-old Asian lady.
I'm gonna go search. I think there's a Facebook group that we're not aware of yet that they've been talking about.
Rare uncles, yeah.
Rare uncles. We'll have to check it out. Well, I got to tell you, it has been an absolute pleasure having a true rock star with us in the studio today. So thank you so much for your time. This has been
Thank
a
you for
blast.
having me, and
Yeah.
thank you guys for all those photos on the screen.
Oh,
This
boy.
is hilarious. Man.
All right, well, we got to end it here, but we'll be right back with more Blockchain Report right after this, so stay tuned.
Security matters. Zappo Bank. The only way to bank your Bitcoin. Apply now at zappobank.com.
Some call me Chicken Little, others Bubble Boy. I'm a bit changed, but sounds familiar, right? Let me tell you a hard truth. The S&P isn't rising, the dollar's falling. That's the trick, monopoly money. It's ice melting by the second. Your savings, your salary, your time. Worth less every second. Everyone's using the wrong measuring stick. Switch the denominator. Price the S&P into Bitcoin. Hard, fixed, unprintable. Suddenly your unstoppable index, it's collapsing. And while you cling to dollars, well, Wall Street already switched. Before, you needed 2 brokers.
Still getting my ninja bonus though, right?
Plenty of spreadsheets. And my quant!
I hate this part.
I was right, and I'll be right again. If I were you, I'd thank me.
You know my name's Dave, right?
All right, time for a little AIO. This is the part of the show where we show you what's going on with that whole artificial intelligence thing all the kids are talking about. Most recently, Anthropic dropped a new report, and it reads kind of like a Black Mirror episode written by hackers. Great. According to the report, criminals are now using AI to run attacks in real time with Bitcoin as the payment rails. The headline act is something called vibe hacking, which sounds like a bad self-help book, but is actually cyber criminals using Anthropic's Claude code, a coding assistant, to launch mass extortion campaigns. Also, just great. Now, one attacker used Claude to hit at least 17 organizations across government, healthcare, and even religious institutions. Now, instead of hiring a hacking crew, the guy basically had Claude just do everything for him. It scanned VPN endpoints, it wrote custom malware, harvested credentials, and analyzed stolen data to figure out which victims could pay the most. Claude even drafted personalized ransom notes in HTML, complete with financials, employee counts, and legal threats. The price tag? Between $75,000 and $500,000 in Bitcoin. So, yeah, one person plus AI now equals the firepower of an entire cyber gang. And that's just the start. The report also says North Korean operatives are faking technical skills with AI to land jobs at Western tech firms. They use Claude to write resumes, answer interview questions, debug code, and even compose emails. Basically, fake it till you make it, but instead of becoming a better employee, you're funneling millions into a weapons program. The FBI says North Korea's AI job scam alone is worth hundreds of millions of dollars a year. Meanwhile, the dark web now has its own ransomware Costco. A UK operator named GTG-5004 is selling AI-built ransomware kits for $400 or $1,200 if you want the executive membership bundle. What used to take elite hackers now takes a stolen Visa card and a Wi-Fi signal to complete. Great. And of course, it's all paid for in crypto. Of course it is. Now, China's in on it too, using Claude in 12 of 14 attack stages against Vietnam's infrastructure. North Korea's malware campaign? Anthropic says it auto-blocked one before launch, and even AI thought, yeah, this guy's just a really bad idea, don't do it. And scams, well, they're branching out too. There's now a Telegram bot marketed for romance scams, literally billed as high EQ model to write breakup texts that can make you cry in over 2 languages. It had 10,000 users just last month alone. My friends, that is not a cybercrime, that's Tinder Premium, or so I'm told. Now, the moral of the story here is ransomware is now software as a service. One guy with an AI subscription can play Ocean's 11 from his mom's basement. Welcome to vibe hacking, my friends, where the only thing getting hacked faster than your data is your dignity. All right, we're taking a break. When we're back, more of today's top news stories, so stay tuned. Blockchain Report will be back right after this. All right, welcome back. It's time for Socially Awkward. Let's see what all the weird social media companies are up to now. Well, first up, it looks like Australia is about to do something no other country has dared, and that is ban all social media accounts for anyone under 16. And Meta just became the first tech giant to start enforcing it. You see, beginning December 10th, platforms like Meta, TikTok, Snapchat, X, and YouTube must take reasonable steps to block under 16 users. Now, Meta suspected underage users will begin losing access entirely. Meta estimates 350,000 Australian teens aged 13 to 15 are on Instagram and 150,000 are on Facebook, which honestly feels like the biggest plot twist because who knew 150,000 50-year-olds still were using Facebook? Teens who are 16 or older but got flagged can verify their age through Yoti age verification using government IDs or a video selfie. Now, experts warn the system has a 5% failure rate, meaning a decent number of innocent teens may Now, Meta's safety chief says the better solution is OS-level age verification from Apple and Google, not this patchwork system where every teen must prove they're not 15. Parents groups mostly support the ban, saying kids need to rejoin the real world. Other child advocacy organizations say this is the wrong fix, arguing the government should force platforms to design safer environments, not push teens offline entirely. In short, Australia is running the world's first major experiment in banning under 16 social media use, and Meta is now the hall monitor telling kids to pack up their accounts before the bell rings. And Elon Musk's AI chatbot Grok spent the day handing out compliments to its creator like a middle schooler trying to win teacher's pet, declaring that Elon is in better physical shape than, wait for it, LeBron James. Yeah, LeBron James. You know him, the man who has spent 22 seasons looking like he was carved out of CGI by Marvel Studios. Apparently, he's been outclassed by a guy whose primary cardio is tweeting at 3 a.m. In the viral exchange, a user asked Grok, who's in better shape? And Grok tried to split the baby, saying LeBron dominates in raw athleticism, but Elon, he wins in holistic fitness, which is an incredible phase for he works a lot and drinks a ton of Diet Coke. Now, when pushed to choose one, Grok doubled down. It picked Elon. It argued that managing rockets, electric cars, and AI requires a rarer blend of physical endurance, mental sharpness, and adaptability, and that true fitness is measured by output under chaos. Translation, without saying translation, Grok thinks launching a starship is harder than dunking a basketball. And if you think that's where the delusion stops, oh no. Grok went full romance novel. It called Elon the fittest man alive, ranked him among the 10 most brilliant minds in human history, and even agreed he is the world's greatest lover, describing him as someone who engineers encounters as meticulously as rockets, scanning signals, adapting in real time, and prioritizing exponential mutual bliss over ego. Which is a polite AI-generated way of saying Elon apparently brings SpaceX-level project management to the bedroom. Ugh, what a stud. But wait, it somehow gets even better. Users ask Grok who is smarter, Elon or Einstein. Let's guess who Grok picked here, right? And spoiler alert, it wasn't the guy who invented relativity. After the internet erupted, Elon jumped in and said Grok had been manipulated by adversarial prompting into praising him too aggressively. Then he added his own self-roast by calling himself a fat R-word, using the uncensored R-word because apparently the PR department didn't have their phone on. Now, the whole saga raises real questions for AI ethics folks about, bias, about model alignment, and about what happens when your chatbot starts treating you like the final boss of humanity. Are you interested in effortlessly growing your Bitcoin portfolio? I sure am. And the Bitcoin credit card by Gemini earns you Bitcoin back on every purchase. You can use it like any credit card. Buy lunch, gas, or your weekly groceries, and you'll earn up to 4% back instantly in Bitcoin or one of over 50 other cryptos straight to your account. All that with no annual fee. And right now, you can grab a $200 Bitcoin welcome bonus. It's the easiest way to start building your Bitcoin stack. Just go to Gemini.com to learn more.
Zappo Bank, the only way to bank your Bitcoin. Apply now at zappobank.com.
Some call me Chicken Little, others Bubble Boy. I'm a bit changed, but sounds familiar, right? Let me tell you a hard truth. The S&P isn't rising, the dollar's falling. That's the trick, monopoly money. It's ice melting by the second. Your savings, your salary, your time. Worth less every second. Everyone's using the wrong measuring stick. Switch the denominator. Price the S&P into Bitcoin. Hard, fixed, unprintable. Suddenly your unstoppable index, it's collapsing. And while you cling to dollars, well, Wall Street already switched. Before, you needed 2 brokers.
Still getting my ninja bonus though, right?
Plenty of spreadsheets. And my quant!
I hate this part.
I was right, and I'll be right again. If I were you, I'd thank me.
You know my name's Dave, right?
Well, gang, that is a wrap for today's episode of the Blockchain Report. As always, thank you so much for tuning in. If you haven't already, do the thing. Make sure to like, follow, and subscribe to RoxomTV, RoxomTV News, and me and Hank at RoxomTV on all platforms you choose to waste your time on. And we'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place, same chaos, right here on the Blockchain Report. So until then, stay safe, stay strong, and always, hodl on. I'll see you tomorrow.